Hello and welcome. You're watching News Now on News Central TV. I am Judith TV. The top stories of this hour. President Tinubu hosts Senegalese President Faye, calls for regional unity to defeat terrorism, banditry. Constitutional Court affirms Idris Deby's victory in Chad's disputed poll. Preparations heat up for Mauritania presidential elections as former leader Aziz declares intention to run. Details shortly. And let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu on Thursday said West African countries must unite to crush banditry, terrorism, and other criminal activities plaguing the region. President Tinubu stated this at the presidential villa in Abuja while receiving President Bassirou Diomaye Faye of Senegal. He called for an alignment of purpose and structure in West Africa to effectively address the challenges confronting the region. According to a statement by presidential spokesperson Nigeria Ungulale, Tinubu described Nigeria and Senegal as brotherly nations, recounting both countries' long history of cooperation as he urged Faye to persuade other countries that have left the ECOWAS bloc to come back into the fold. On the spot, the Senegalese president called for the reactivation of the Nigeria-Senegal Joint Commission to strengthen bilateral relations in diplomacy, trade, and other spheres. And on to security matters, some yet-to-be-identified gunmen have kidnapped a Catholic priest, Reverend Father Bassirou at Nkpo Junction near the commercial city Onitsha in Anambra State. According to eyewitnesses, the Reverend Father was abducted from his vehicle while driving around the state. The State Police Command spokesperson SP Tochukwu Ukenga confirmed the incident in a statement when contacted. Ukenga said the Commissioner of Police Nage Ubunu Etam had addressed the Catholic priest on the development in the Bishop Conference at Onitsha. Still on security, residents of Bayazin in Kobi Wari Area Council of the Federal Capital Abuja says reports of about 3 persons killed in the recent violent clash in the community is false. They also add that the clash was between scavengers locally called Baba Bola and residents of the community and did not have any religious intonation. News Central's Emmanuel Bagundu reports.
It's recovery time for the residents of Biazin Kubwa, a suburb in Nigeria's federal capital. Following the clash that recently occurred in the community, some of the residents say the attack still lingers in their minds.
There's another woman here. She do POS. They collect her bag, collect her money. From there, they mash her, they cut her. They enter this Wasobia shop here. They spot the TV, all of them, they run. They leave that place. All the top of pepper soup, the mother said they poured everything away. They leave that place, they meet another girl here. She do POS here. They knock on, then with matches, all everything. They leave that place, they go to Minakota. They go to my own wife's shop. They scatter everything, both the show glass, both the bonds, everything that said they scatter everything, they move on.
Although tension returned back to the community following a claim that some of the victims had lost their lives, the claim turned out to be false.
I want to see something. I said, when I call you and did something, he said, one sister. I said, yeah, no be toilet. And so, now you carry knife, one children. All of us who in my shop, they helping me. One guy, baggy, and he collect the knife. Before I know, don't break your bottle.
I come carry my bag for Biagi. I carry my bag, and I come to Biabi. All this Abuja know say I'm a Yoruba man. Now I can see they carry cloth like knock me. Gon carry stick, they knock me. Everybody gonna see me say wetin happen. Now I can run, come on my shed, run, go station, go report. May government or those shabuki Mebola make it help us. Now because now they cause all the problem. If you call Mobela now say, may you no carry this thing, it will be forced to carry this thing. Now go they carry jackknife, say won't kill you.
Leaders of the different ethnic groups in the community insist that there is now peace and the time for crisis is over.
But if anybody tell me, say, we lost 2 lives, we lost 3 lives, it's a lie. If there is, tell me where the dead body is. Is it in the mortuary? If there is, tell me the house that person comes from. I want to know. Tell me the family of that person. There's nothing like that. We have not lost any life. But people succeeded. They got so many injuries.
The Federal Capital Territory remains a model of peace to other states and their communities. It is hoped that the peace restored back to Biaji community in Kubwa will be sustained. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Emmanuel Bagudu.
Indiscriminate rustling of cattle, killing of livestock, and attacks on herders have been described as barbaric acts capable of denying any given society peace and development. This was the cry of the Gan Allah Fulani Development Association of Nigeria Plateau State Chapter at a press briefing following an attack on their community in Bassa local government area of Plateau State. News Central's Chizoba Aniowe tells us more.
Over the years, both Fulanis and locals in Plateau State have lived, intermarried, and transacted businesses together. However, it has become worrisome how things have degenerated to the level where there is mutual distrust among the once peaceful neighbors after an attack is carried out on any of their communities. Going by the allegations of this Fulani Development Association here, over 600 of their cattle and other livestock have been rustled, more than 150 brutally killed, and more painful, the lives of 2 herders that were recorded in the past 2 weeks.
The attack was also unprovoked because there was no any encroachment or destruction of farm or any attack that will warrant reprisal capable of unleashing such a barbaric and inhuman killing of herders and their cows. We are left in doubt and demand for answers as to the reason why the attack was carried out by the Irego militia.
As part of efforts in building on the peace process on the plateau, Chairman of the association has called on relevant stakeholders to take a listen to these demands of theirs.
We appeal to the federal and state governments, security agencies, and other stakeholders to, 1, arrest and with immediate effect the masterminds of the attack. Number 2, pay compensation to alleviate the sufferings of the surviving victims. Number 3, provide protection to our people and their source of livelihood against provocation, intimidation, isolated killings, and maiming.
Their call for a restraining order by relevant authorities to marauders, cattle rustlers, rumor peddlers, and illegal arms dealers remains one of their ways out. Also, there is need to look at the economic, political, and cultural implications of these attacks for peace building and thus establish conflict resolution strategies. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Aniowe.
Oyo State Commissioner of Police Hamzat Adebola on Thursday paraded the former chairman Park and Management System, Lamidu Mukaila, fondly called Auxiliary. The Department of State Services Monument on Tuesday arrested Auxiliary at his Olodo residence in Ibadan, the state capital, months after the police had declared him wanted for allegedly involving in a series of armed robbery, kidnapping, and murder cases. Commissioner of Police in Oyo State, Adebola Hamzat, broke the news to newsmen at the force headquarters in Eleyele, Ibadan. Adebola, while parading the suspect at the State Police Command, said he would be charged to court.
Discreet intelligence-led search commenced for the sacked PMS chieftain with the help of technology, collaborative effort of sister agencies, and community policing. Many locations were identified, traced, and combed for months until his recent arrest in a concerted effort with our sister services. Moving forward, the suspect will be charged to court for offenses he has committed. While the command is thanking the public for providing credible information to curb crime, it has become imperative to affirm to the general public about our resolve to deal decisively with any criminally motivated individual or group who intends to flip the state retrogressively into the historical dark age of the Wild West. In conclusion, if you see...
The committee set up by the Delta State Governor, Sheriff Oboriwori, for the replacement of displaced people of Okwama in Ugeli South local government area of the state says the IDP camp is now ready to receive displaced persons from the community. Residents of Okwama fled their homes after the invasion by the army in retaliation of the killing of 17 soldiers on March 14th. The question now is, how prepared are the returning natives of Okwama to stay in the camp prepared by the government? News Central's correspondent Austin Azu tells us more in this report.
The activation of the camp for the internally displaced indigene and residents of Okwama community is coming 59 days after the bloodbath and subsequent announcement of military withdrawal from the community by the Delta State Governor last week. The camp is situated at the traditional headquarters of Ewurobo Kingdom in Ugeli South local government area of the state. The chairman of the committee, saddled with the responsibility of establishing the camp, conducted journalists around the facility. He said the committee has received food items, beddings, generator sets, medicals, and other basic items necessary for the camp to kick off. He noted the displeasure expressed by some of the displaced persons who prefer the camp to be situated at Okwama, but appealed to them to come over to the campsite, which he says is just the first step of a long-term solution. He maintained that the committee was constituted when Okwama people were staying in the bush and the army stayed in the community, so it didn't create room to better engagement.
If the people could stay in their ancestral home, no matter the conditions and all of that, you cannot say that of people, third parties, who will go there to attend to them. What we have guaranteed is that whatever we take to feed them, we have made provision for. You understand? We have made provision for. By way of budget.
News Central, however, visited Okwama community, where the returnees seems to be picking up the pieces of their lives. This is St. Peter's Anglican Church, the only building standing in Okwama community at the moment. This is where the people who fled the community returned back and they started living here for the meantime.
Ewu, we not go. All of us not go Ewu. If you want big cap for us, come here to build cap for here. If you big cap for here, all of our people go come. If you not big cap for here, nobody go come.
Somebody will start telling me that we should go camp for Ewu. Yes, about 35 years services, a common civil servant, they destroy everything.
Because here, we have some cassavas in the forest, which our people can still harvest. But if we decide to go to Ewu now, I don't think we can harvest those crops. They will lot in the bush. Those ones that our neighboring community looted, the ones that are still remaining, if we stay here, we can be able to harvest them. So we want the government to set the IDP camp here. We can manage here. But if we decide to go to Ewu, I don't think we can survive there. We know that the government will cater for us there, but we cannot survive. Stay in our own land, our ancestral land, is more preferable to us than going to an IDP camp in Ewu. We prefer that the IDP camp should be set here in Okwama community.
The inhabitants of Okwama are expectant and they are hopeful that they will pick up the pieces of their lives again and rebuild their walls no matter what and time is going to cost them. In Okwama community, in Delta State, for News Central, Austin Azu.
And now Austin Azu joins us live on the news to discuss this further. Austin, a very good morning to you and thank you so much for coming on. Let's get started very quickly. From your report there, we can see all of the residents that you were speaking to saying that they are not going to go to the Ewu camp. That's the IDP camp. So let me understand this. Help us just put this into context. What is the distance between Okwama and the IDP location?
Good morning to you. The distance between Okwama community and the IDP camp in Ewo, Town, is very far. You're going to break it down from the land to the water before you cross over to Okwama. Okwama is an island, which is located in Ewo Kingdom. But the distance is very far, more than on the water, about 1 hour from the river bank of Arawariye down to Okwama. Of course, you are going to pass many villages. But, however, I don't know the reason why the government insisted that people must leave Okwama down to the other side, which is the traditional headquarters of the kingdom. But the government have said that for the meantime, that the people need to leave the community so that they will be able to do the planning and do the necessary things that's required of them before people can go back to their ancestral home. But from what the committee had said, that it was very difficult for third parties, knowing fully well what has transpired over the time of the military siege in Okwama, what led to the killings and so on and so forth. So the feud between the neighboring community to Okwama, you can't rule it out because there might still be some aggression from the neighboring community or communities who perceive that despite the fact that the community has been raised down, so anybody who is going there, understand, might likely be attacked. So because of the fear of the unknown, the government is saying from this point in time that it will not be necessary and be wise for any other persons to be going there to be attending to them. So they need to move out from that particular place and come to the ancestral home, the ancestral headquarters, which is the Ewo Town, so that they will be able to look after them. So the distance is quite far, very far. So for them to live there to the main IDP camp here, I think they have their reasons, and they have said it why they won't be able to go to the IDP camp.
Right. So now that they don't want to go to Ewu, where the IDP camp is, and they want to remain there. What is the tensions like so far? You visited there, you were there, you were with the inhabitants there. What's the tensions like? Did they talk about the clash between the other communities? Because I noticed one of the persons you spoke to sort of made reference to their farmlands being looted and their crops being stolen.
Yes, barely 24 hours after the army announced their departure from Okwama, there were reports about some other neighboring communities who infiltrated the Okwama community trying to loot their property, and they had some clash that led to severe injuries, and reportedly that one person or thereabout lost his life thereabout. But the subject matter here is that the people are willing to stay, that the only place that they have at the moment still remains the church, that place will be comfortable for them, because at the moment they lamented they have nothing, no food, no clothes, all through the 6 weeks they are in the bush, and just at their own mercy that they survived it. The atmosphere in Okwama is not palatable. The houses were all brought down. Economic trades were brought down as well. So even the little domestic animals they had in the community were not spared. So coming back to Okwama at this point in time, you are going just at your own mercy. The day we went there, I wept, because I imagine people who have lived their life in the community. Imagine the retired civil servant who spent 35 years in service. He built a house for himself. He built another apartment for his family, and one other apartment that he proposed to be running his personal business. I'm very unfortunate that this man had to, spend all his life in civil service, and now he was lamenting where he's going to start from. Likewise, other persons whose building were equally brought down. A woman who interviewed Yellow, who just came from the bush, lamented that the only thing she had remains the clothes she was wearing. So the place at the moment is not a good state for people to stay, but they decided that they will be staying there. Now they need health, they need to be attended to health-wise, they need food, and they need shelter as well. So how will these people get all this put together? So they are the one, wearing the shoe. They should be able to express themselves the way they wanted it. So we are waiting for government to come. If government is going to have a plan B for them, or the government will go ahead with what they have planned out already.
Right. Also, many thanks. You've been very steadfast with this story, and we'll continue to keep our eyes open to see as it continues to unfold. But many thanks for coming on. Appreciate you for doing this with us.
You're most welcome. Have a nice day.
And now we'll take a short break. When we come back on the other side, there's more. This is News Now. Stay with us. And welcome back. The Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress have expressed disappointment over the 48,000 naira minimum wage proposed by the federal government, saying that the wage proposal is insensible and significantly short in the meeting the needs of the Nigerian workers. The president of Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaure, and the vice president of Trade Union Congress, Tommy Etim, made the assertion in a media conference today, immediately after the national minimum wage negotiation with the federal government in Abuja on Wednesday. The union leader said government's failure to provide any substantiated data to support their offer exacerbated the situation, adding that the proposed amount lack of transparency and good faith undermines the credibility of the negotiation process and erodes trust between the parties involved.
Of a paltry 48,000 naira as the minimum wage does not only insult the sensibilities of Nigerian workers, but also falls significantly short of meeting our needs and aspirations. In contrast, organized private sector proposed an initial offer of 54,000. Though it is worth noting that even the least paid workers in the private sectors receive 78,000 naira. As clearly stated by the organized private sector, highlighting the stark disparity between the proposed minimum wage and prevailing standards, further demonstrating the unwillingness of the employers and government.
Earlier, we're joined on the news by public affairs analyst Ahmed Husseini, who discussed this further. Take a look.
I'm a little bit surprised because everyone was expecting the federal government to make some offer that is at least twice, I don't know, something around 60,000 naira or even 50,000 naira, but going below, to 48,000 naira, is actually quite a surprise, and I think it's going to be a big disappointment on the side of the NUC and the NLC. The TUC and the NLC. That's the entire organized labor. But then, actually, this is a negotiation, and when you are going through negotiations like that, you have to understand that both parties will try to actually maximize their own outcomes. So the NLC, the organized labor, is asking for 615,000 naira. The federal government is offering 48,000 naira. So you can see there's a lot of gap. There is a huge gap between them. So we're not even talking about dozens of possible agreements. So we don't even know. There's not a possible middle ground that they can come actually without one party appearing to lose out in the whole.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities has threatened to down tools after 2 weeks if the President Bola Tinubu administration fails to pay public university lecturers their withdrawn or withheld salaries. ASU President Emmanuel Shodeke said it is unfair for the federal government to pay lecturers 4 months of their 2022 withheld salaries and hold on to that of 3.5 months. He argued that public universities in the country have so far covered the work for the period that were on strike in 2022 and should be duly paid. In 2022, academic and non-academic unions in Nigeria embarked on an 8-month strike to press home some of their demands, including a better welfare package. Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has launched a radio station in the nation's capital, Abuja, as part of its effort to improve on its operations against corruption. The Commission says that the pioneering anti-graft radio station, the first of its kind in Africa, will provide daily information, enlightenment, entertainment, and anti-corruption campaigns to the public. News Center's Joshua Imarai tells us more.
With Nigeria's anti-graft agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, stepping up its tempo in fighting financial crimes, the agency this time has set up its own radio station. The EFCC says its radio station is designed to mobilize citizens against corruption and provide a platform for public engagement and education hoping to have an impact in fighting graft and enlightening the public on its operational activities.
But for us in the FCC, owning a radio station is not just a status symbol, but an important organ of mobilization against graft, where communication and public engagement have the same impact and depth as our operational activities. Indeed, our own radio station, we are in a better position to tell our stories, factually, ungarnished, and undiluted.
Stakeholders present commended the initiative, saying that the activities of the EFCC towards modernizing its operation with citizens in mind can be a game changer.
The establishment of the EFCC FM radio is in line with the laws that established EFCC to carry out rigorous public enlightenment to Nigerians both at home and abroad.
The EFCC has done tremendously well in this fight. They have generated the necessary awareness and consciousness about the impact and consequences of corrupt practices in Nigeria. These giant strides are highly commendable, and I urge the Commission not to relent until all corrupt practices are effectively tackled. Indeed, there is still more to be done, and the use of radio is the right way to go.
The second pillar of our 5-point agenda at the Ministry of Information and National Orientation is to amplify the policies and programs of the federal government. And I'm happy that we now have a new partner in the EFCC. The first pillar of that 5-point agenda is to restore public trust in communications in Nigeria.
Many here say that the establishment of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission radio is another step towards the right direction in the fight against corruption. They add that the radio will help disseminate necessary information to the citizens at the grassroots, helping them to combat misinformation and supporting efforts in eradicating corruption. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Nigeria's federal government has called on the International Atomic Energy Agency to support its quest to adopt nuclear energy for peaceful use in the country. And this was made known by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation as he received a high-level delegation from the International Atomic Energy Agency in Abuja. Amadine Uyi reports.
The team from the International Atomic Energy Agency was led by the Director General, Rafael Mariano Grossi. The IAEA team revealed that the adoption of nuclear energy has tremendous benefits for any nation.
Nuclear technology is a technology that requires excellent preparation and strict adherence to safety methodologies and practices.
Nuclear science contributes significantly to overall socio-economic development, particularly in power and non-power, significantly in the area of cancer diagnosis and management.
They say Nigeria's desire to adopt the use of atomic energy will help the nation immensely, as the technology can be used in several sectors of the economy.
Nigeria has also fully shown its commitment to use nuclear energy to generate electricity, to a combination of a mix of energy that electricity we're generating today, hydro from gas, and now we're going to the realm of renewable energy.
In Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, where I come from, the introduction of nuclear energy is a reality. And I think that a country of global significance like Nigeria, of enormous significance in Africa itself, is doing just the logical thing by exploring the ways and now moving more decisively into this area.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation called for support from the International Atomic Energy Agency, saying Nigeria can make use of their expertise.
Appeal for more collaboration and partnership so that our country will continue to leverage on the expertise of your agency in order to reinforce Nigeria's national nuclear program.
The SGF assured that Nigeria will not be left behind, following the adoption of nuclear energy technology by many countries to solve their energy needs. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Nigeria's federal government has assured citizens of its commitment or it being committed to ensuring that the proposed digital switch over for the broadcast industry will soon be a thing of the past. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation made this known as he received members of the Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria, where he expressed worry that despite efforts being put in place by the previous administration, the switchover objectives could not be achieved. Madin Uyi reports.
It was a visit by members of the Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria to the Minister of Information and National Orientation. The team, led by the chairman of the association, complained about challenges facing the broadcast industry in the country and recommended several measures needed to effect changes that will stimulate the advertising sector and digital satellite transmission aspirations of government.
We propose the following regulatory measures: direct outcome supervision, empowering the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ARCON, to effectively supervise advertising contracts that will ensure transparency and accountability. Direct sales, exploring the possibility of eliminating advertising agencies as middlemen in ad sales could improve efficiency and revenue generation for broadcasters and also for MBC.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation assured the team that with mistakes learned from the past, the current administration will ensure that Nigeria achieves its digital switchover objectives.
The President has told me that he wants DSO to happen. And I have promised elsewhere that DSO is going to happen in this country. We're going to have a digital switchover with following the model of various other successful countries. There is no reason why DSO has happened in smaller countries and Nigeria is still lagging behind. It is unacceptable. It is not in tandem with the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President.
He urged media practitioners and organizations to key into the federal government's renewable energy transition objectives by adopting measures already being put in place.
Instead of paying for diesel all the time, take advantage of the initiative of Mr. President by ensuring that you key into renewable energy. The CNG arrangement, the compressed natural gas, there are CNG generators happening. Indeed, only recently, the federal government has insisted that all generators, all vehicles to be procured by the federal government will have to be either CNG compliant or have solar based or are electric driven.
The minister also promised government's financing for media organizations through single-digit interest rate financing from the Bank of Industry. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And watching news now on News Central TV. We're going on a short break. Stay with us. Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko has warned that insistence on LGBTQ rights in diplomatic regions or relations and from multinational organizations would lead to anti-Western sentiment. Homosexuality is stigmatized in the West African nation, where a law acts against nature with an individual of the same sex carries a penalty of up to 5 years imprisonment. Speaking to students in Dakar, Sonko urged Westerners to respect Senegalese culture and criticize external attempts to impose lifestyles and ways of thinking contrary to the country's values. Sonko said while defending sexual minorities has become an important debate in the West, in countries like Senegal, it raises enormous tensions, and attention to it could fuel anti-Western sentiment in many parts of the country.
Ce qu'il est convenu d'appeler les LGBTQ risque d'être le prochain casus belli entre le monde occidental et le reste du globe terrestre si elle continue à être posée de cette façon. cette question subitement érigée en débat prioritaire au sein des opinions occidentales que nous respectons quand ça relève de leur réalité. Si cela est conforme à la culture, au mode de vie et aux options des Français, nous l'acceptons et les Sénégalais qui vivent en France devront s'y adapter. Eh bien, si aujourd'hui, dans notre société, le phénomène dont je viens de parler n'est pas accepté, il est toléré. Et le plus grand danger que peuvent encourir les membres de ces communautés, c'est la propagande qu'on veut nous imposer. Nous avons dépassé.
Ethiopia on Thursday objected to a speech delivered by the U.S. ambassador urging better protection of human rights, with the foreign ministry calling the address unsolicited and ill-advised. Ethiopia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs denounced his speech on Thursday, saying it contained, quote, allegations against and unsolicited advice to the government of Ethiopia, end quote. While visiting a recently restored historical building in capital Addis Ababa on Wednesday, Ambassador Arwin Masinga called for a, quote, transparent transitional justice process, end quote, to address reports of extrajudicial killings, arbitrary detentions, and sexual violence and other abuses. He called on fighters from various armed ethnic factions, including the Oromo Liberation Army, which the government considers a terrorist organization, the Fano Self-Defense Militia, and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, to make their demands through dialogue rather than violence. And on to Kenya, where wildlife authorities have urged residents of Nairobi's Lang'ata area to be vigilant following reports of 3 lions allegedly spotted nearby. On Thursday, a team of the Kenya Wildlife Service was deployed to search for the reported roaming lions near Lang'ata Women's Prison on the outskirts of the city. But the team was unable to spot the lions after a long night search. It, however, said the team was still monitoring the situation closely and are on high alert. It is not the first time lions are reported to have escaped from the Nairobi National Park, which is feted for being the only game park in the world within a city. And on to Chad, where its Constitutional Council has upheld the results of the nation's presidential election that declared interim military ruler Mahamat Derby the winner. It also rejected challenges by 2 losing candidates in the May 6th elections. The Central African country's electoral body declared General Derby winner of the election with 61% of the vote, with his closest rival, Prime Minister Success Masra, polling at 19%. Masra had disputed the result, claiming his victory had been stolen from the people. Some opposition candidates had also alleged irregularities on polling day. Chad becomes the first of the countries where the military seized power in West and Central Africa in recent years to hold elections and restore civilian rule. The current president of Mauritania, Mohamed Ould Ghazouani, and his imprisoned predecessor, Mohamed Ould Abdul Aziz, who was earlier declared out of the race, among the 8 individuals who have filed to run for the June 29th presidential election. Prospective contenders had until midnight on Wednesday to register their candidacy. Aziz led the pivotal country between North and Sub-Saharan Africa between 2008 and 2019 and is currently in prison. On Tuesday, the former leader's spokesman said he was out of the running because he lacks the necessary sponsorships. But in a surprise move, Aziz headed to the Constitutional Council on the night of the deadline under heavy escort to submit his paperwork. Russian President Vladimir Putin laid flowers at the Soviet martyrs monument in the northeastern city of Harbin, built to commemorate the Serbians' Red Army soldiers who died during World War II. Putin is on the final day of a visit aiming to promote crucial trade with China and win greater support for his war effort in Ukraine. China has also offered a critical lifeline to Russia's isolated economy, with trade booming since the invasion and hitting $240 billion in 2023, according to Chinese customs figures. China and Russia's strategic partnership has also grown closer since the invasion of Ukraine, and Beijing has rebuffed Western claims that it is aiding Moscow's war efforts. And on to Latin America, where the director of La Bodilo prison, one of Colombia's principal prisons, was shot dead in Bogota earlier in the day in what the security secretary for the city refers to as a murder-for-hire case. The director was traveling in a car belonging to the MPEC prison authority in the Colombian capital when he was shot. Fernandez had taken office on April 4th, and he was carrying out orders to impact discipline and carrying out random searches. The leftist president announced a lockdown plan by the police to find the attackers and an extraordinary security council to establish measures for the country's prisons. Nigeria's Golden Eaglets played out a scoreless draw with Burkina Faso in a tight fiscal contest to open their campaign in the WAFO B Under-17 AFCON qualifying tournament in Accra, Ghana. The five-time world champions took over the game from the start but consistently missed begging chances. The Burkina Faso Babes, or Burkina Babes, hardly got out of the half but did enough to hold the Nigerians and earn a valuable draw. The Nigerian side will hope to right their wrong when they face Niger on Sunday in the second group match. Golden Eaglets coach Garba Manu talks about the goalless draw against Burkina Faso. The chairman of Nigeria National League, George Alao, has announced that the champions of this season's NNL champions will receive 5 million naira as the prize money. Alao, during the media briefing on Thursday morning in Abuja, made this known at the NNL headquarters, promising improvement in the prize money and happy to announce that the champions will receive money from the organizer of the league for the first time. Tournament now hold from June 7th to 14th. The matches will be streamed live, and the largest radio network in Africa, Radio Nigeria, will run live commentary. The best goalkeeper, most valuable player, and the highest goal scorer and best referee will also receive awards. Brazil has been named host for the 2027 Women's World Cup after beating a joint bid by the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany, BNG. They became the first nation to be handed the right by an open vote, with member associations voting 119 to 78 in favor of Brazil at FIFA's Congress in Bangkok on Friday. Both bids met hosting criteria, but Brazil scored higher on technical aspects covering areas such as stadium, accommodation, fan zones, and transport in a FIFA bid evaluation report. It will be the first time a Women's World Cup has been hosted by a South American country. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu hosts Senegalese President Faye, calls for regional unity to defeat terrorism, banditry. Constitutional Court affirms Idris Deby's victory in Chad's disputed poll. Preparations hit up for Mauritania's presidential elections as former leader Aziz declares intention to run. Now remember that you can send us your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number now showing on your screen. And do make sure to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV.